So, welcome to this tutorial on color and color casts in photographs. In this one we'll be looking at the color correction tools in GIMP and how to remove a color cast from a photograph. So first of all I'm going to open up an image that has a color cast in it. I'll do that by clicking on the image, holding down the mouse button and dragging it onto the GIMP workspace. So the image is open now. This image has a blue color cast on it. It was photographed on a cloudy day when the light is slightly blue in color, and the white balance settings on the camera were incorrect when it was photographed, so that's why that added to the blue cast of the image, and we're going to remove that blue cast on the photograph. You can see it especially in the gravel road here and then in the trees, which don't have quite the same pop as they would if they were pure green. So again, we're going to use this through layers. We're going to create a duplicate of this layer, adjust the color in it, and then filter it with a blending mode called color. So first of all, I'm going to create a duplicate of this forest path layer by clicking on the create a duplicate of the layer button down in the layer panel. So now we have our duplicate layer sitting above the main layer. I'm going to go to colors and we're going to use the color balance for this. So we get a dialog box here that has a number of values in it. So first you see shadows, midtones and highlights. So this will allow you to adjust the color cast separately for the shadows, midtones and highlights. For the moment we're going to just look at the midtones and adjusting the color cast within the midtones. Below here you'll also notice a check mark that says preserve luminosity, and that is, the aim of that is not to make any of the tones in the image darker than they already are when the color adjustment is being made. So as I said, this has a slightly blue cast in it, so we're going to do three things with that by adjusting these three values here. So you notice that on this slider there's two sides. There's cyan, red, magenta, green and yellow and blue. So each of those are complementary colors, cyan being complementary of red, magenta being complementary of green and blue being complementary of yellow. So in order to remove one, we need to add the other. So for instance, this image is slightly blue and of course cyan is slightly blue, so we're going to add a little bit of red to the image. That will also help this kind of brown reddishness that's in the soil kind of come out as well. So we just do that by clicking on the slider and just dragging this a little bit to the right. It doesn't need very much red in it. This one then we're going to drag slightly towards green, and finally then we're going to take the blue and remove that by adding yellow. And let's look at it before and after. Okay, so you can see there it's done a pretty good job of taking the blue out of the image. We can also look in the shadows and remove some of the blue from the shadows to bring these the colors in the trees out a little bit better. So we do that by adding just a little bit of yellow. So now you can see the foliage is a much richer green color, maybe a little bit too much in this case. So that looks about okay. If we want, you could add a little bit of green to it, and then small amount of red, not very much. And the highlights, if we adjust this, it'll mostly affect the sky. So you can see the sky at the moment is a pretty neutral color with a slight blue cast in it. So we don't really need to do very much to adjust that. We can choose split view then to see a before and after. So you see the difference here, quite a lot of blue in the image originally, and especially in the foliage over here. And when you're happy with it, then click on OK. Now, in order to save the tonal values of the image, we're going to use a blending mode other than normal. So I'm going to take this blending modes and we're going to go down to this LCH color, and we're going to click on that, and that just helps us to maintain the overall tone of the original image, which we can adjust through a separate adjustment if we want to. So if you want to save this then as a GIMP file, or to come back to change your settings later, you can go to File and Save As, and save it as an XCF file by clicking Save here. And then if you want to save this as an image file, first we're just going to flatten this image. So I'm going to go to the Layers menu and go to Merge Down, and then come up here to File, and remember it's Export As, and we're going to choose Select File by Type down here, and then you can call it, these are in alphabetical order, so you're going to save it as a JPEG, and we're going to call the file, so it doesn't overwrite the original, color correct, and click on Export. And again here, watch out for your overall quality settings, that it's not too low. We'll leave it on 98% and click Export. And now the file is saved as a JPEG file in that folder. Okay, thank you for watching this tutorial.